Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
Divorce lawyers of Reddit, what's the most cruel thing you've seen someone to do their ex-partner? She arranged his murder. She called him from a remote location saying she had a flat tire and couldn't get home. Even though they had been separated for months, he loaded up his tools and a spare and drove out to her car where the wife's new boyfriend beat him to death. Not exactly the perfect crime. Did they just give zero thought to the consequences when planning that? These were not what you would call thoughtful people. My ex-sister-in-law tried to do this to my brother to get his house that he inherited before marriage. The divorce process was about 3/4 of the way through and suddenly this model starts hitting up my brother's DMs, talking him up and suggesting they head out to the desert to do drugs and shoot guns. Turns out the model was signed to the ex's new boyfriend's modeling company. My brother was absolutely devastated and almost went. My mom and I had to take his keys and babysit him until his next court date where his lawyer brought it up and suddenly the model never contacted him again. I got into a fight with the ex's mom once and accused her of being a dirty cop, and she told me that she absolutely would kill my brother if he gave her the slightest reason. Just a few months after the model incident, the ex's dad died in a hit and run on his way to work, and she ended up with an insurance payout big enough to buy herself a nice 2-story house. Funny coincidence, right? Always change your beneficiaries. My ex isn't getting a dime from me. I remember reading one of these where the dad fought tooth and nail for the kid's scrapbook of pictures, etc. that mom created. He won them and then walked out of the courthouse and burned them right on the steps outside of the courthouse. He is not a good parent and that should have been used against him. Definitely. Immediately called back into the courtroom and told every future claim he might make just died on the courthouse steps by the judge. Oof, reading that made me remember that my dad refused to let my mom have all of her photos. We packed and left one day while he was at work and she wasn't able to get all of the photos that were on the walls. Photos of me and her loved ones, including her mother that had already passed. I found them one day in a box in his garage and snuck back as many as I could in my suitcase during my visitation weekends. Sadly, most of them were damaged at that point. There was no reason for that asshole to do that other than to be cruel. I haven't talked to that piece of shit since I turned 18. Sometimes I wonder if I'll regret ending that relationship, but these repressed memories remind me that nope, I'm better off without him. So thanks. My kid's father threw away the sonogram pictures of my youngest son. Then he has the nerve to wonder why that son stopped talking to him when he was 12 and the older son stopped talking to him not much later. The ex called her job and said she was on drugs. She was absolutely not. She voluntarily let them drug test her and cleared her. Called her landlord and said she had 7 animals. She had 2, which she had paid pet deposits for. Called CPS on her and said she was driving drunk with the kids. She doesn't drink. Divorce makes some people go insane. He admitted the reason he did all this was he thought she would come back if she was homeless and jobless. My now ex-husband called my job and said I called my boss the N-word, a word I've never said in my entire life. I ended up getting fired. Not because they believed him, but because his antics made me more trouble than I was worth. The kicker, we were not divorcing or even separated at the time. He just didn't want me working because I might interact with other men, even though I was the only one with a job and we had a newborn at the time. Yeah, he wasn't smart. Glad he is your ex now. That type of controlling behavior only gets worse. My brother moved his wife and 3 kids out of Provence to a place neither of them knew anyone. Within 8 months, he left his wife of 21 years with 3 kids, 2 disabled, they will need to be taken care of for life, for his coworker. Announced this at his youngest daughter's 13th b-day party. 4 months later sold their house from under his wife without telling her, leaving her and 3 kids homeless. My parents stepped in and bought her a house in her family's hometown. My brother then put everything in his new GF's name, quit his job to be self-employed, claimed he was losing money, so never had to assist with a penny for child support. He's a piece of poop. Thank God for your parents. They also cut my brother from their will, gave him $1 and directed his share to a trust funds for the 3 kids. Love them for that. Friend's soon-to-be ex-wife moved into the condos overlooking the golf course he played on every Sunday. Proceeded to sit on the balcony with her new boyfriend drinking coffee and watching him play each week. Just to throw off his game. See, this is what I was expecting to read. Not all the other comments that are truly vile and evil. I just want some Desperate Housewives pettiness. Not Lifetime movie trauma. What's the most cruel thing you've seen someone do to their ex-partner? I just want some Desperate Housewives pettiness. Rom thread bucko. Damn, the worst I did was use the gas rewards on my ex-husband's grocery store club card. Oh my god, you probably cheated him out of entire dollars. Maybe tens 10 of them. 8 years divorced. I use his points every time I take our kid to shoe carnival. Twice a year, sometimes more. He never notices, and I'll never tell. Let's call it child support. Reading these stories makes me realize how divorce can turn people into complete strangers to themselves. It's terrifying how quickly love can transform into calculated cruelty. The human capacity for vindictiveness during emotional pain really is something else. The second I divorced, my ex started being nice again. This was incredibly insulting because it proved for once and for all that his cruelty and disdain during our marriage had been a decision. Me, too. He still tells our kids he has no idea why I left him. C'est la vie, though. Getting divorced was a great decision for me. Death too. I've seen two families completely and permanently self-destruct when they fought over inheritance. I've also seen one family really come together after an inheritance fight too, so all hope is not lost. That fam has an interesting story. Dude has wife and a few kids. Wife dies. He eventually remarries and they have a few more kids together. One big happy family, all kids treated equally by stepmother, so all good there. Cut to 50 years later and dad dies. The wife inherits everything, normal, and then she dies a few years later. Out of the absolute blue and everyone's shock, she leaves all possessions and money from her and her husband's estate too, only her biological children. All of the kids are outraged that she would spend her life treating everyone equally to then be shitty after death, so that her stepchildren get absolutely nothing from the dad's estate at all. The kids said fuck that and split everything evenly with all of them. Fuck you, Betty. Wow, sounds like her bio kids didn't take after her, fortunately. What a betrayal by their stepmom, damn. One of the greenest flags when I was dating my now husband was how he handled his dad's death. My husband was a late life, baby and the only child from his parents' marriage. His mom had predeceased his dad and neither had written a will. So mom's estate and share of the house automatically went to dad, and then when dad had died, it was split between my husband and his half-brother. My husband then split his own half equally between himself and his 3 half-brothers on his mom's side, without anyone asking him to. Because he thought it wasn't right. When I was in med school, I was admitting this one patient to the hospital and asking if his code status was current. He was listed as DNR, which he didn't know about, because the last time he was in the hospital he was unconscious and his wife, now ex, was acting as his medical proxy. Guess they were having issues at that time. Edit, I want to make it very clear that medically, do not resuscitate, does not equate do not treat. We will still treat patients to our best ability. Your code status is only in relation to what we do if you die, and oftentimes, especially for really sick people, despite our best efforts, most people don't come back, and those that do often have deficits. Was it crappy? The ex-wife made a decision obviously against what the patient wanted. Yes, but she was not preventing anyone from providing him medical care while alive. I worked at the VA before the Choice Act made it easy to send patients out, so waits were longer than they should have. Guy gets divorced, never removes her as next of kin or medical POA. She finds out he has cancer somehow, so calls, says that he is moving a couple thousand miles away to be with his kid, cancels all of his appointments ranging from oncology to dental, have the med sent to wherever, then he doesn't find out until he shows up because all the paperwork went to the new state. Thankfully it got fixed, but it was a massive pain in the ass that required an entire day by a staff member calling and walking around to the various departments and their service line chiefs to do things like get him seen while the clinic was closed for lunch due to lack of space. And the federal VA police and the local police to get reports to replace the controlled substances. Did the police take any action against the ex? Worst I ever heard was a Reddit post like 10 years ago. Guy and his wife are fighting over custody of his beloved German Shepherd that he brought to the marriage. She fought and fought in court to get the dog. They ultimately had to split custody, but she got the dog first since he was still settling in his new place. When it was his turn, he went to get the dog and she handed him a box. She had the dog put to sleep and cremated. That has stayed with me for over a decade. Honestly, this should be a crime. Unless a vet can testify that putting the animal down was best, if you do this, straight to jail. You've hurt someone beyond compare and murdered a perfectly healthy animal. Our vet has straight up said that unless they have diagnosed an animal as having no remaining quality of life, they will not put him to sleep. They told us too many people were using it as a convenience choice, which is just gross. This is pure evil. If someone did this to me, I would be going to prison. Not if I were on your jury. People who take their partner's beloved pet to the vet to be put down as revenge. My mother did something similar. She gave our 2 cats to a farm. One was 18 years old, we had had her since she was a kitten. My father was devastated when he found out. She refused to tell where they were. I was 16, it was over 30 years ago, and it still makes my blood boil. My mom did this to my cat when I was a kid. Tried to convince me it was for the best, then 2 of my friends found the cat drenched in gasoline on the side of a rural road. I got to see it again, they kept it for a while. I do not know what really happened. Edit, I know my mom wouldn't do such a thing, but I know she had little empathy for cats back then and probably gave her to some pretty sketchy people in the country to be a farm cat, without checking anything out. I'm going to ask my friends about this again. They were a young married couple I knew from church. I was only about 12 at the time. I remember being shocked how decrepit the poor little thing was. They had nursed it back to health at their house. Was a sweet orange cat. And now that I'm thinking about all this orange cat had one little grey baby that I absolutely adored for a few years. My mom told me it froze to death outside one year. I think I need to start asking some more questions. My mom will never admit to doing anything wrong. My dad did this because my new stepmom wanted a cocker spaniel and he didn't want two dogs in the house. I never forgave him, nor should you. Take him to the vet when you want a new dad and don't want two in the house. Veterinarian here to try to give some insight on how this can happen. People present healthy animals for behavioral euthanasia, so we commonly see cats and are told they are urinating everywhere or destroying the house, and we will also be presented with dogs and told that they bit someone and need to be euthanized. Usually there is a threat involved. If you don't euthanize my pet, I'll take it home and shoot it out back instead. So we do feel obligated to help these animals pass away in a peaceful, non-violent way. We also have to sleep at night. I have turned away young, apparently healthy animals because I have no evidence of what the owner is telling me. I have a man present a 3 to 4 year old beautiful cat for euthanasia and refused to explain why, just that, my wife told me to. I told him to take the cat to the shelter instead. In my clinic we implemented a policy that a new client has to present records from a previous clinic with their name on them to prove ownership if they are presenting for euthanasia. It's not a perfect system, but hopefully it has helped cut down on people doing this kind of thing to their significant other at the expense of a happy, healthy pet. Hi colleague. I posted similarly below. I had someone a while back who brought in a dog who had belonged to a family member who just died. Dog was elderly with some typical old dog health issues but nothing major. And by the way, she was a walk-in on a busy day. She wanted him put down. I did do it, eventually, but I had a chat with her first. Was she sure? Could any other family members take him? In return I got a nasty 1-star Google review. She was mad that she had to wait, that it wasn't free, and that I had tried to make her feel guilty about this terrible decision she had to make. In response I wrote, "We are so sorry we did not meet your expectations. Euthanasia, on demand with no questions asked, at no charge, is not a service we provide." My boyfriend's ex-wife did this. He had to move out and couldn't bring the cat where he was staying. She was supposed to keep her until he could get his own place. She ended up taking the cat to a shelter and saying it was a stray. Luckily she is chipped, so they called him. He asked me if I would take her for a bit. We were just friends at the time. I've had Doris ever since. Oh, thank you. After reading various previous comments about pets being killed, I need to read one with a positive outcome. Thank you.